McKnight's senior editor, Kim Marcellus, here at the ACA Fall Convention with Ari Ashkenaz, senior vice president at Apploy, a workforce platform built for healthcare. We're here to discuss AI-forward staffing strategies that help you grow your healthcare organization. Hi, Ari.
Hi, Kim.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
So to start with, we both know that smarter staffing strategies are really critical as senior care providers try to meet increasing demand from patients, even amid ongoing and very stubborn workforce challenges. Let's talk about how adopting innovative and AI-forward hiring and scheduling tools can help unearth insights and also help providers become better equipped to manage and meet tomorrow's staffing challenges. Maybe we start with the demographics.
Sure.
So you had shared with us previously that as the population ages and demand for post-acute care is increasing, there was a study by Precedence Research Study. The post-acute care market is expected to grow 55% by 2034. That's less than 10 years. I had to think about that for a moment. How are you seeing providers prepare?
It's a great question, and we speak to operators and different people within the portfolio really on a daily basis. We're working with about 9,000 facilities across the country. And what we try to help them with in terms of strategizing and making sure that they're set up for the future is really around automation, optimization. You know, if a candidate comes in, let's get back to that candidate very, very quickly, because those candidates have other opportunities and other employment options.
I've heard horror stories about that you get ghosted. That's still happening?
We speak to heads of HR and talent acquisition partners. There's a lot of competition out there. It's not just from facilities. It's from the local restaurants and the diners and the Walmarts of the world. So facilities have to be competitive. They have to find different strategies, unique strategies, in order to bring in the staff and the employees so they can properly staff their buildings.
So you said very quickly. That's kind of open to interpretation.
Yeah.
What is a good response time, you think, today?
So we have different tools like text messaging and phone calls and different ways to really get back to the candidate very quickly. We like to see that within 30 minutes to an hour.
Oh, wow.
If not sooner.
Okay.
Because that candidate could be off to another facility down the road that might have taken the time to respond back to their application, much quicker than us.
So my reality, I would have thought you'd say a day. So I'm glad I asked you that. So as the shortage of healthcare workers continues to challenge the industry, how are providers sort of approaching staffing in the face of those constraints, and what is their long-term strategy?
Yeah, so one of our customers, Monarch Healthcare, out of Minnesota, they've done a wonderful job in terms of creating educational opportunities for their staff and creating a culture that that staff want to be a part of, right? Fun, mission driven, and they've done it in a way where candidates and different staff members see what's going on in their facility and say, I want to work for a place like that really values me, that is going to pay for some of my education, right? Those are some of the things that we see that our customers have to be competitive in the marketplace with.
So obviously that's about recognition, kind of making your brand visible in the market that you work in and having a good connotation. I actually interviewed the CEO at Monarch not too long ago, and we talked quite a bit about that. So it's a great example. So on the other side of kind of that human touch and doing things for your workforce, there's the strategy or tool selection side. What are some ways that AI will transform healthcare hiring maybe over the next 5 years?
Yeah, so healthcare is always going to be a human-centric industry. There's just no way around that, right? People have to be cared for by humans. My uncle was just in a nursing home. He just passed away, a few weeks ago, and a couple of the stories that I heard afterwards were some of the nurses and the CNAs afterwards were saying, "Oh, we miss him so much," and that's the type of human centrality and resident centrality that we can't forget about. even with AI, and we talk a lot about AI, and we're moving towards AI and different chatbots, to speed up the hiring process and sifting through different resumes to see, maybe a candidate didn't work out, 2 years ago, but they have such and such experience now that they're a better fit for our culture and what we're looking for right now. Those are some of the things that AI is really going to help with, and AI is moving very, very quickly, right? So there are operators and portfolios who might be a little bit nervous about taking on AI, and we've seen portfolios that start small, right? Especially when we're talking about HR, and HR is very, very sensitive in many different ways. We want to make sure that different biases and different elements within the hiring process are looked at, and they're not just being relied on by the AI.
Okay. Let me ask you a question about screening, because I would fear, if I were a provider, that I might have that candidate who looks good, and is AI going to be able to appropriately understand that or not? Do you feel like the technology is there?
Yeah, so I think that it's going to have to be trained over time, and the more that we can get it, the AI and whoever is creating that, employees working on various different opportunities within AI that's going to help our customers. We're already starting to push those out to some of our early adopters. We're starting to train that, right? Train the AI, make sure that it is comfortable with the customer and is looking for the right things, and as it's making it as quote unquote human as possible.
I bring that up because it's something I see quite a bit on LinkedIn in particular, and the economy certainly plays a role too. But people feel that I sent all these resumes, and I'm not necessarily talking about CNA staff here, but higher level positions, and I never hear back. So I think there is still some fear, and I think it's about creating solutions that address those fears, and maybe having a partner that. You mentioned your 9,000 facilities at the beginning. Do you get those questions when folks are coming on and have those conversations with them about pain points or concerns?
So, some of the levels of staff that work in facilities, CNAs, LPNs, they might sometimes, if every portfolio is a little bit different in terms of their structure, but if a head of HR or a head of talent, called them, they might feel intimidated rather than, a chatbot, conversing with them and, going through a couple of questions and making sure that they're the right fit for that role. They might feel a little bit more comfortable. So those are some of the things that we have been discussing, and we've been actually talking to some of our customers about, and some of them feel the same way.
Okay, very interesting. So what concerns do you hear from providers? I asked you a question about screening, but are there other tools or strategies that involve AI that providers ask you about, or that you want to kind of proactively address with healthcare leaders who are maybe still on the fence a little bit?
Yeah, I would say, in terms of AI, it's moving very quickly, and our recommendation is at a certain point you are going to have to lean in, but you have an opportunity now to lean in a little bit slower. But educate yourselves, educate your teams, make it a topic of conversation. Even have a lunch and learn. Employee is happy to have lunch and learns with anyone in our industry to start educating around what it means around AI and staffing and what that means. This is going to be a crucial differentiator for some of providers around the country, and if they don't necessarily get on board, they're going to see a slowdown in some of their hiring potentially.
Maybe disadvantage compared to that next stop an hour away.
Yeah.
So again, if I'm that provider who hasn't taken the first step, are there some recommendations, some things that you would say, hey, start here, get comfortable, then move to this? What are your suggestions?
I would say, you can use certain job postings. Maybe if it's one facility that you want to test the waters with. It's always good to, as I said before, ease into it, lean in, but lean in cautiously and be optimistic about it. Because just like, Apploy was a technology not too long ago that, didn't necessarily have so much fanfare or people didn't know about it. People leaned in, and now it's a household name across the industry. So same with with AI and different tools that we're going to be providing, and I'm sure others will be providing. Just have to take a little bit of risk.
Yeah. So in that try one facility or try one position, doesn't matter. Do you see more success with an entry-level position like a CNA or more on the leadership side?
I don't think it really matters. I think it's really a matter of getting your team comfortable with the concept of using AI and creating more efficiencies, more automations, workflows using AI, and hopefully having better outcomes within your hiring process.
So it's kind of a beta test, basically.
Yeah.
All right, Ari, well, this is really informational. Thank you so much. I feel like I learned a little bit more about your product. And today, I'm going to say thank you very much from Ignites. This is Kim Marcellus. Have a great afternoon.